or tablets and put everything together in a package for low monthly payments. It's another service that we offer, as well as helping to implement an additional layer of customer support. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Samsara. They're the experts on the product itself, and happy to answer questions at the end of this. I think there will be a 15-minute Q&A session, and we'll be tracking your guys' questions throughout the webinar. Samantha, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you very much, Eric. I'm Samantha. I'm a partner account manager here at Samsara. I have been with the team for about 3 years now, working with Eric as well. Tivitri is one of our preferred affiliate partners, so he is a Samsara expert. But excited to talk with you all today about driver exoneration and coaching using artificial intelligence. We all know now that safety is more important than ever, as I'm sure that you all have seen the rise in lawsuits surrounding accidents with transportation companies. So for today, I'm excited to show you guys two aspects of the safety playbook, if you will, that all transportation companies should be implementing in their fleet. Part one of that playbook is using dash cams with artificial intelligence to help exonerate your drivers. And part two of that playbook is using AI to build effective coaching programs with your fleet and with your safety manager. So both of those steps together in conjunction help cover all of your bases. It helps you be reactive in the event that an accident or incident does occur on the road, but it also helps you be proactive and ensuring that your drivers are practicing the absolute best habits out on the road. Continuing to increase dollars spent on lawyers is not the answer to the problem, but using AI and also using data in general to bolster your safety program helps keep dollars both in your pocket, and it helps keep your drivers out on the road. So a little bit of history on Samsara. We are a fully consolidated fleet management platform, and we are one of the newer players in the telematics space. We're about 6 years old, but don't let that fool you. Our growth has skyrocketed, and we now have over 20,000 fleet customers, and we're valued at $5.4 billion. And part of that is due to our investment in technology and research and development, which has allowed us to grow very quickly. We're headquartered here in Silicon Valley, and many of our engineering staff and alumni are from Apple and Google and the other tech giants of the world. Hence, there was a pretty natural fit for us to focus on incorporating artificial intelligence into our camera systems. So we've captured over 1 billion distracted driving events each year, which is a ton. And while we do focus on more than just dash cams, we're going to zoom in on that feature today. So with that, I will start sharing my screen. Okay. Team, are we all good? Are you able to see the screen here? Eric, yes?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. So a few statistics here. Distracted driving is the single biggest factor in vehicle collisions. According to the National Safety Council, at least 1.6 million collisions and fatal crashes occur each year because of people making calls or sending text messages while driving. And also tailgating is the leading cause of rear-end collisions, causing more than 1,700 deaths and 500,000 injuries each year. One of our customers, Sprint Waste, they were able to exonerate drivers from over 50% of accidents in 2019 with HD camera footage like we're about to view. So what does exonerating a driver with a camera look like? I'm going to go ahead and run this clip for us all. There we go. So it was 10 seconds of footage that's able to instantly protect your driver. Here in the left frame, you were able to see there's probably some weather conditions out on the road. It looks like it's a little bit rainy. It looks like there's some white rail tracks, so it could be a little bit slippery. And on the right-hand frame, you're able to see the driver and some dots in a box around his face. So what's going on here is that our system identified this as a harsh brake event. And without a camera system in place, what could have gone down is later on that day, this sedan, the driver could have called into the transportation company and said, hey, your driver nicked me in the back driving today, and entered into a lawsuit. And you could be, potentially liable for thousands of dollars. But what really had went down was that our cameras were using the AI to detect drivers' facial features and the facial position to understand that he was actually looking out on the road, based on the speeding data. He was going the speed limit, so he was practicing safe driving habits, but this sedan had slid into his lane, almost causing a bit of a fender bender or a small crash. So having this data instantly protects the driver, shows that he's practicing the best habits. And that's what that looks like. So the AI with the cameras is married up to the G-force data that's being pulled from the engine. So the cameras are installed via a vehicle gateway in the OBD2 port in the vehicle. So that's where we're able to get that braking or speeding data from the engine, and then match it up with the data, what's going on in the cab. You can see here. Oh, Eric, were you going to jump in?
Yeah, I was going to mention that graph below actually. So the things that are great is that it corresponds with the same place as the video is playing. So was the driver's foot on the brake? What this shows is that the driver's foot came off the accelerator pedal. He noticed that driver. He noticed the condition. He was attentive. He took his foot off the accelerator and was ready. And it really shows the level of preparation that this driver had with the accelerator pedal being let up in advance. And so was the cruise control set? Was the brake was the brake being used or applied? Was the accelerator pedal pushed? What percentage of that accelerator pedal was pushed? It really tells you the whole story of how your driver was reacting, all the way from his to the feet to the head movement. Everything tells the whole picture.
Yep, exactly. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle going on when a driver's out on the road, and this puts all of those pieces together in one place. So another great thing about the cameras, this footage is available to you in an instant. Our data is pinging the GPS devices literally on a second-by-second basis. So the moment that this happens and the 10 seconds are captured, it's going to be sent to you. This helps with two things. More old-fashioned back in the day, a driver, if they had a camera, would have to pull out the SD card. They'd have to hand it to you. You'd have to flip through footage, and that takes quite a while. Pretty labor intensive. And on the other hand, Samsara is not looking at the footage for you and taking a few days to do that. If something critical happens, you need to know about it right away. So we're sending you that 10 seconds immediately, and I'll show you in just a moment where that's stored. But all data is at your fingertips. And like I had mentioned, this was identified as a harsh brake. We talked about the G-forces. So you might be thinking, well, I have a mixed fleet. I have some heavy duty vehicles, but I also have some light duty vehicles and even a couple of passenger vehicles. How is all of that measured since those vehicles operate very differently? We're going to hop over to the safety settings. So the theme of Samsara is that the dashboard is completely customizable to your fleet's needs. So if we're looking at event sensitivity, things that we're picking up on for some examples are the harsh accelerations, harsh brakes, and harsh turns. And you're able to lower or to extend the sensitivity of each of these events based on your type of fleet. And on top of that, this is probably a good segue to hop into event detection and what kind of AI events are there. So that's how you could exonerate a driver, but forward looking, thinking about how can we actually improve driver behavior if need be. So beyond just the general facial positioning, what's the camera picking up on if we're using a dual facing camera and even just a forward facing camera? There's following distance detection, otherwise known as tailgating, forward collision warnings, distracted driving detection, and things like policy violations, specifically things such as no seatbelt being worn, maybe no mask being worn, or inward camera obstruction. So Samsara is always trying to think of business relevant features. Obviously, over the past year, there's been many a times where everyone is required to wear a mask out in a store, for example. So if your driver is running a lot of deliveries per day, we're able to build in the feature, seeing if a driver is wearing a mask or not, making sure that they're following all local requirements. And then, go ahead.
I was just going to mention, you kind of glossed over the following following distance, the following collision warning or following distance detection. There's a lot of OEM products out there that come with tractors, and you can order tractors with some of those solutions on them, and they're great. They're going to give an audible alert, or even some systems will actually, do other things to help avoid those accidents. The one thing that they're lacking that Samsara has is the back end analytics of the entire fleet, right? It's nice having your driver to have a warning or some audible alert, or letting them know that a forward collision is happening, which Samsara does as well. But what you wouldn't know is if that driver was doing that 8 times a day, or if there were many drivers in your fleet that were having that situation happen, because there's no back-end analytics being sent to a dashboard where you can review it and monitor it and really look at those outliers. And that's one thing that a lot of my clients have appreciated about the AI and the following distance detection.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Eric. And I'll be hopping into the coaching dashboard in a moment where you can actually see that as aggregated data and analytics for your entire fleet. So on top of that, AI is being built in audio alerts as well. So maybe you want your driver to be immediately notified in the cab. You do want to probably review something like this with them after in a safety session that happens on a weekly or monthly basis with a coach. But the system's going to be able to immediately alert the driver if something like tailgating is occurring. And you can toggle this on and off based on your needs.
Yeah, those settings and the thresholds are really important so that you're not getting inundated with a lot of alerts, right? I mean, you're in bumper to bumper traffic. You don't need following distance detection for that situation. So you can set the speed at a certain threshold. You can set the duration. Same thing with, all alerts with Samsara. They're really customizable, so you're not getting inundated with those alerts.
Yep, exactly. Something like a last mile delivery in local streets. Maybe you work in the Northeast, you're probably going to be looking at something more like 35. It's a bit narrower there, but if you're just doing over the road, you might want to be able to bump this up. Some quick more statistics. One of our clients, ArcBest, was able to decrease by 13% the frequency of preventable accidents as a result of video-based driver coaching. And another one of our customers, Dorn, saw a 10% decrease in driver turnover after implementing a video-based driver recognition and rewards program. And so just to touch on briefly before I go into the actual coaching dashboard, further safety settings that are customizable for your coaching. This company has it turned off, but you are able to automatically add events to be coached if a harsh event is triggered. And you can assign your coaches or your safety managers email notifications when a harsh event occurs. Awesome. So jumping into the coaching dashboard here within the safety inbox. And actually, I promised you all, the safety inbox is where we hold and showcase the events that have been captured by the camera. So those 10-second clips like we saw initially, those are stored here for as long as you need. We're capturing additional data and holding it for up to 100 hours of drive time, but anything that's labeled as a harsh event is going to be saved here in your inbox for as long as you need to, and you can mark it as needs coaching, needs recognition, maybe you need to dismiss it. So for the coaching, the AI events and the harsh events are able to offer your driver a safety score based on how long they've been driving and how many events and incidents have occurred during that time. So Samsara identifies a good safety score as anything above 90.
Also worth noting, and I'm sorry if you were about to get to this, Samantha,
Mhm.
that score is visible to the drivers in their driver app and accessible to them so they can self coach and know, okay, well, if I'm sitting here and I'm, out of 50 drivers, I'm sitting at number 45, what do I need to do in order to get better and improve myself? That self accountability, it really helps safety directors and safety team members, take some of that load off of them, and the drivers can be self accountable, because ultimately I think just like anybody that has a career, they want to be the best at their own job. And I mean, to be able to be self accountable and understand where your weaknesses are, I think is important to growing and being a better driver.
Yeah, that's a great point. And one of our most successful customers that's built out a safety coaching program, what they've done, they had a pretty big fleet. They took this list here, anonymized it by driver name here. So they used their like driver employee ID and had the full list posted within their break rooms and their offices. So it kind of warmed up the driver's feet. They were able to see and kind of start to acknowledge the safety scores. They were able to see where the top performers were, kind of what the worst scores were and where the aggregate is. So started to sit there in the back of their mind. And as the drivers started to be more conscious and aware, they then turned on that feature that Eric just referenced within the driver app so that the drivers could immediately be aware of what their score is. And then they start to reward them, usually monetarily, on a quarterly or annual basis. And then they even have built out rewards for like 100,000 up to even 1,000,000 miles of lack of incidents. So you kind of each time you reach that milestone, you're rewarded with something more. And the drivers have something to work towards, to strive towards, and also be compensated for their efforts. So to zoom in on what the safety score or each driver trend looks like. This guy's actually pretty good. So we're at 96. I'm going to pop over and see if I can get one that has a few more incidents here. Let's see if we... So here we go, a map over the past month of the event rate. These are the kind of events we're picking up on: crashes, turns, acceleration, stops, and brakes. Event count, speeding, detecting speeding as something as light, moderate, and heavy. And then also AI behaviors. So this driver's in the clear, but maybe there's something like no seatbelt being worn. Here you can see what type of safety events have occurred, AI, etc. And in this case, just a few days ago, a rolling stop was detected. So your safety manager can easily go in and see this footage. And another great way to enhance communication with a driver, if something occurred that you are really concerned about and you want to immediately notify them, you don't want to forget, you can share it with the driver here within the dashboard, and it will notify them within their driver app. So it is a messaging tool as well. So your safety managers can go through and see what behaviors and what drivers have been coached already, who that coach was, and then you get a summary of recent event coaching too, to make sure that your drivers your safety managers are staying as up to date and coaching events as quickly as possible so that drivers are reminded of what's gone on. And ultimately, the goal here is to make sure that drivers are enhancing their behavior. So you want to monitor the effectiveness of what's being coached. Um, this particular driver had one incident occur and had one incident repeated that was following distance. So if this continues as a pattern over time, it's something that you really want to buckle down and speak with the driver about. Many customers have also created kind of a tiered system based on the serious of the incidents or infractions that are occurring, such as something like a zero tolerance policy for dangerous and illegal activities, like driving under the influence, and also creating a strike system or point system for smaller infractions such as speeding or not wearing a seatbelt. So your safety policy should include guidelines for coaching so that drivers know what to expect. The more you lay this out ahead of time and kind of present what's expected, the more eager the drivers will be to participate with you on this. Some other interesting features when it comes to AI. One that we're working on right now is actually food and beverage consumption detection. So that's currently in the making. And then we are using AI within the dual facing cameras to be able to identify drivers to the vehicle.
Yeah, it's been a huge feature for a lot of my customers that have some other solutions. When you have a lot of unassigned hours and you're spending a lot of your time trying to identify where those unassigned hours are going, it's nice to have a snapshot of who was driving that vehicle at that time with a recommended person that you can say, yep, it was that person, and assign those hours to the right person. That's been huge
Yep.
for all my clients.
Just take one look, you know who that is, you type in their name here, click, and boom, that trip is going to be matched up with that driver automatically. So it can save you quite a bit of time. Additionally, I had talked about the videos being sent when there's those harsh events, but anytime for those 100 hours additionally, you can always go back through and retrieve that footage yourself. And Eric, those were my main points for coaching and building that kind of secondary experience using AI to bolster your fleet safety. Was there anything else you wanted me to highlight here?
As far as the coaching, just the
Yeah,
coaching? No, you did great.
awesome. Well, with that, I will open up the floor to questions.
I did want to mention or you did actually mention the video retrieval.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the other thing, I mean, she mentioned unassigned hours there, right? Today we're really focused on exonerating drivers and how to use AI and to coach the drivers and be proactive as well as reactive. But Samsara is a full suite of products. Telematics, your ELD, asset tracking for trailers. Those are all things that are consolidated in one platform. Your maintenance, document uploads, and streamlining some of those invoicing processes to get documents back faster. Your DVRs, DVIRs. Samsara does all these things in one pane of glass and just makes things very efficient. And as you can see, the user interface is very simple to use. So implementing Samsara is just a fraction of the effort that you've put in probably to other telematics solutions that you've used. And I'm sure that's at next week's annual event at the TXTA. I'm sure if you were to ask around to current Samsara customers, that's the experience that they're going to tell you that they've had.
Yep, we really value ease of use, ease to implement, ease to train new employees and new drivers on the system. And we're always investing in directly from customer feedback and releasing the new features. Um, like I said, about one per day in each quarter. So I always encourage my customers to check out what's new, what's been released. This is always released to all of our customers. You don't have to wait to renew or anything. So always keep using what's now available to you.
And if you have any questions that even aren't safety related or attached to the driver exoneration, I'm sure we're prepared to answer those as well. So happy to field your questions.
Yes. Yes. I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen right now.
You guys have, I think, have fairly covered this, but I'm going to point to a couple of the questions in the chat about the video training, and you shared some of the videos that you utilize for the drivers. There was a conversation about rear camera availability,
Yeah.
and you talked a little bit about how efficiently the coach is in the coaching event.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we can start historically here. So the first question was, is there a rear view camera available? There is. There's multiple options. If you have third-party cameras already installed, we can't connect with those. And Samsara does have a multi-cam system, our NVR system that's now released. So rear and also side cameras available, along with that traditional forward-facing and dual-facing. Next question here, does the coaching platform keep track of how timely, effectively the coach is in reference to the coaching event? Yes, I had gone back to that effectiveness section. I can share again. So monitoring what we've considered as coached on time, coached late, and needs coaching. So you may want to monitor closely things like coach late or past due to make sure that this is being kept up to speed. And then it breaks down your managers on board as to those types of behaviors.
How about the drivers? How efficient, how they're responding, and how quickly they're adapting to the coaching.
Yes, there is driver efficiency scores as well. Next question was, does Samsara offer any training and education videos for drivers that explain the safety score and coaching? Yes, there's a lot of collateral that we can easily distribute to your drivers and to your safety managers. And Samsara customers do get training with our implementation consultants when they kick off working with us. So that's something that our implementation team can work with your safety managers to train them and then also help distribute to the drivers.
It's also that she showed earlier with that, share footage with the driver. Traditionally, there's been a lot of, I guess the only way to do it is to bring your driver in, have a conversation, right? A tough conversation. Now, being able to just send that video to the driver and say, hey, look, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but, that subconscious like reminder, like, oh yeah, this is something that I did. And seeing that video really helps to self-correct. And it saves a lot of time for safety directors and safety managers as well, just being able to distribute that right to the driver.
Yeah.
Eric, did you say that there was a storage limit on that video library?
There is not. So it's unlimited data with Samsara. So that's a good question, actually. Those videos, once they've been sent up as a harsh event or a video that's been retrieved, that video is stored for as long as the customer requires it or wants it to be stored. There's retention policies that we can put in place that would, eliminate video if that was something that the customer wanted after some time.
Also, is the safety rating real time and available to all the drivers correct? So part one, yes, it is in real time. All of our data that we're collecting for the entire platform is in real time. And was the driver safety score correct? That was my interpretation. Yes, but if you ever want to go back and edit a driver score because they were actually practicing a preventative behavior, maybe they did have to slam on the brakes, but that was a positive reaction, you can dismiss that event so that it won't count towards their score.
And as far as the real-time data, I will add a slight tweak to that. There are places, especially rural Texas, right, where there's not cell phone coverage. And in those situations, the data is stored locally on a solid state drive, and it's sitting there stored. And as soon as cell phone reception is restored, that information will upload, and that's when it will refresh the dashboard once that cellular reception is restored. If that makes sense.
Another question was, how do you toggle on the driver assignment feature to your own account? So earlier in the presentation, we had gone over to our safety settings where you had options to toggle on different AI features. That's where you would turn on the ability. And of course, you do have to have the dual facing camera installed in order for that feature to work.
Yeah, there's many settings that can be toggled on and off. Not every carrier wants audible alerts for their AI features or for their harsh events. Some do, some don't. You know, we definitely make that customizable per carrier and just walk through that during the onboarding and during the trials. So I guess that's that is the way that we typically do business at Samsara. If there's interest and then we typically like to ship out free units and let customers test those products at no charge. We'll pay for shipping there. We'll pay for shipping back if you choose not to move forward with Samsara. And trials are a great way to test them in your fleet, get driver reactions, and that's something that's been a huge portion, of our growth, is just being able to send those units out and let you try them for yourself.
Yeah. And another question is about receiving a link to this seminar. I'm assuming that we will be having this recorded and sent out. John, is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you for bringing that up. We will make this available through TXTA University so that membership, you can access this as a follow-up to share internally as well with your employees.
Yeah.
Just want to go back to the rear view camera. I've just seen a lot of applications with like flatbed haulers, and people are hauling equipment maybe for oil fields or things like that, to see how your equipment was loaded. If something goes wrong, it's nice to go back and be able to see, what was done here, what could have been done better or differently. So those rear view cameras were highly requested for sure.
Yeah.
I did, and I'm not sure, Samantha, this is in, it might just be, you might be able to see this. I do have a question about participants, or I should say passengers. Did you guys already cover any of the aspects of passengers, whether that's an event that can be detected if they're allowed and confirmed via the use of the seatbelt or otherwise, or if they have company policy that doesn't allow for passengers, whether that's something that can be recorded as well?
Oh, that's a great question. Yatin, I'm not sure if you are able to step in here. In terms of seatbelt, I believe it's only for the driver at this time. I'm not sure that we're able to detect passengers right now.
That
You
is
can see
correct.
them.
So, yep, that's what we have available in production. There is a feature that we are exploring in terms of monitoring or applying the AI to the passenger, but that's not ready for prime time yet. It's something we are exploring, but there are also other regulations and legalities that we need to take into account before we release such a feature in production. But to answer the question, right now the AI capabilities are only applicable to the driver.
Thank you, Yatin. Also, I see a question about the differences in accident rates between forward-facing cameras or dual-facing cameras. So someone was asking what that difference has been. I don't have those statistics in front of me, but maybe Samantha or Yatin do. But I can say that there's a lot of things that the inside camera can do. One, if you do use Samsara for the full platform, right, detecting that driver, the artificial intelligence for telling if a driver is attentive, if they were following certain policies that your company have in place. There's a lot of things that the inward camera does to help with coaching and preventability in those types of accidents. So I would imagine there is a difference. I just don't have the number. Maybe Samantha or
Yeah, I don't have a breakdown in terms of like accident prevention when it comes to the cameras, but I do know that it's about a 60-40 split, 60 in favor of the dual facing cameras for what our customers have purchased. So many of them do see the value in dual facing. We also have additional accessories. Some that we forgot to talk about, there's the camera covers. So if you ever want to have the option for basically the inward camera to be turned on or off, the driver can just place a little cover over it. And the panic button as well can help marry the footage. So the driver can press a panic button in the event that they want to alert you. If something has occurred on the road, they want footage to be captured and given to you, but are aware that a harsh event might not be included.
The panic buttons are huge. It gives the drivers a sense of control over what video their managers and their safety team are seeing. So, when someone cuts them off, instead of them being frustrated and just like, oh man, I know I'm going to get a harsh event, they can hit that button and they know that video is being viewed. They know that they're not getting in trouble for that stuff, and it's not going against their scoring. It gives them just that sense of control over their safety score and their safety team. And I think it brings, between that and the score being available to them, knowing where their safety score is and being able to track their own performance that way without having to have that interaction all the time with their safety team is very helpful.
And Eric, you have part of that training or part of the education videos that you share do also explain how that safety score is achieved and offers the coaching on there, if I'm not mistaken.
It does. So the algorithm is kind of broken down into the different separate components, and those components are actually adjustable and customizable for what your safety policies and safety scoring, what's important to your company. So it breaks those down. And then also there are recommended, talk tracks that Samsara provides around those harsh events. So they know it's maybe some relevant statistics or a way to kind of just approach that conversation with the driver.
And I believe you may have already covered this too, Samantha. I think you saw this question or about the driver assignment function. How might one obtain a driver assignment function on their account?
Yes, so through the safety settings, you would need to enable AI recognition for the driver.
Sam, I'm looking through, or Samantha, I'm sorry, I keep calling you Sam. Samantha, I'm looking through the chat box and the Q&A. I think we've covered all of the questions, but if you might take another quick peek there.
Yeah, I think we've covered them as well.
Okay.
It's worth mentioning that Ramon and myself, as well as gentleman Travis, will be with us at the TXTA annual event next week. Excited to be there, and you just look for the tall, goofy-looking guy with the bald head, and you'll probably have that better-looking gentleman, Ramon, next to me somewhere. You can ask us all the questions that you want.
Yes, if you do have any questions following this, please reach out. If you don't see them at TXTA, please contact them via email, and they'll be able to provide you with a further demo.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was in the link, but sales at Tivitry, Eric with a C at Tivitry, Ramon at Tivitry, and we also have Kim at Tivitry that's located in Texas, in Lufkin actually. So she's kind of centrally located there. She'll be at a lot of the TXTA events as well.
Well, excellent, guys. Appreciate your time today. I think we've exhausted the questions that we have at least shared here online. And as Eric mentioned, come out to the conference and learn more about some of the things that we talked about today. And I'm sure if you reach out independently, the group here stands ready to help and serve you. I think the part of the information that we sent out says it all about what the customers have seen. The 83% reduction in accidents, 60% reduction in cost of accidents, and a 50% reduction in the harsh accidents speak for themselves. So we know we've got a good product and a great partnership. We appreciate you guys. And once again, we will be making this video available through our TXTA University. And I've got a couple of emails sent specifically that we can make sure and send that to you when that link is ready, which may take us a couple of days, but we'll make sure that we get that information out there. Any other closing thoughts, Eric, Samantha?
Just see you next week.
Thanks for hosting, John.
Good to meet everyone.
Thank you guys very much. Ramon, thank you again.